and the queen heard a familiar roar, the same sound she had heard in the forest years ago. From the depth of the flame arose the dreaded apparition of the Spirit King. She could barely scream. It was raging with anger, and just as it had appeared, it was gone. A year later, the queen gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Kings and royals from all the corners of the kingdoms came to pay homage to the princess. Tales of the beautiful princess with piercing green eyes was on every lip. The kingdom rejoiced. Her mother named her Anira. Years passed, and Anira grew into a beautiful girl. She was the joy of her parents. She was smart and caring. Everyone loved her. One day, while people went about their daily activities, the warning horn was blown. It signaled danger. A ferocious beast was on a rampage in the kingdom. People ran to safety. The queen called for her daughter but couldn't find her. The maidens and the guards panicked as they searched for her. The queen ran out with fear of the worst, screaming her name at every corner. She found her in the most terrifying situation. She was playing with the wild beast, a fierce-looking tiger. Somehow, rather than trying to harm her, the tiger seemed to be protecting her. The guards attacked the tiger, and immediately it turned and ran back into the forest. This caused the queen much worry. Anira loved her parents, but she was an Abiku, an unknown to anyone. From birth, her spirit would always leave her body at midnight to go commune with her kind in the forest. During this time, Anira would lay lifeless in bed till her spirit returned. She always had dreams of her experiences with her kind. The Abiku were wild spirits of the forest trees. They did the biddings of the entities who often used them to mete out punishments to the humans. But the Abiku spirits took no joy in their evil assignments. They were creatures of nature. They had a soft side and loved to play. They were children after all. Often, she would tell her mother of the dreams she had. But little did she know these were not dreams. It was her out-of-body experience as an Abiku. Her mother would console her, but unknown to her, as the child matured, her Abiku spirit was growing stronger and more dominant, taking full control and feeding on the child's life force. While it grew stronger, the child's life force grew weaker. Eventually, the Abiku would return to its world and the host child will die. That was the cycle. Their joy was cut short one day when the child suddenly fell ill. All the renowned healers were summoned. They tried all they could, but none could heal her, and in a short time, she died. The queen was devastated and broken. None could console her. The kingdom mourned the joyful princess. The king and queen only found comfort from the pain in each other's arms. Anira's death broke them more than they could imagine. Time passed, and good news filled the air. The village was ripe with excitement. A child was born to the queen. A girl, very beautiful with piercing green eyes. The people rejoiced with the queen. The queen loved her with all her heart. She brought her so much joy. She named her Nola. She grew to be loved and doted among all. One day, while the queen braided her daughter's hair, she noticed a scar on her head. She was shocked. Nola had never been injured on her head. Only one person had such a scar. Anira. Without a second thought, she consulted a witch doctor. He took a piece of the child's hair and placed in a burning calabash. In a flash, the flames turned green, and the queen heard a familiar roar, the same sound she had heard in the forest years ago. From the depth of the flame arose the dreaded apparition of the Spirit King. She could barely scream. It was raging with anger, and just as it had appeared, it was gone. The witch doctor told her everything about the Spirit King, her daughter being an Abiku, everything. She would have to pacify the spirit of the deer by getting a leaf from the spirit tree. With that, he could make a charm to break the connection of the Abiku in Nola, to prevent the Abiku from ever leaving the body of the princess, allowing her to live a normal life. And for that, she would have to make a dreadful journey into the forbidden forest. He fortified her against the lingering evils. She rode silently as he had instructed. Her heart was filled with fear as she looked from side to side at the slightest sound. She eventually got to the spirit realm gate, and before her were countless spirits hovering around. She rode on as instructed, ignoring the spirits. And there in the clearing, she spotted the white tree. It was beautiful and glorious. She got off her horse and knelt at the foot of the tree, carrying a calabash. She poured out her heart at the foot of the tree. She was deeply remorse. She looked up and she could see a deer far off in the distance, looking sadly at her. And immediately a leaf fell into her calabash. The leaf was a symbol of mercy, absolving her of her mistake. With that, the witch doctor was able to make a coral bead charm for the princess. She wore it around Nola's neck, never to be removed again. It prevented the Abiku from taking her spirit form or leaving her body at night. Discovering their friend missing, an Abiku came to check on her, but the charm prevented her from leaving her body. Time passed, and Nola grew into a beautiful princess. She took after her mother's beauty and archery. She loved to hunt, but not to kill. One day, while she played with her bunny prey, she heard a sound from the forest afar off. She looked up and saw a wonderful sight. Children spirit beings looking at her. The forest was filled with them. It was magical. For some reasons unknown to her, she wasn't scared. Instead, they looked very familiar, like she had known them in another lifetime. Afar off the village, the night was at its darkest. The witch doctor was getting prepared to retire for the night. He carried his lamp and made his way into his hut. A swirl of the wind, and he felt a presence. He knew this day would come. "I have been expecting you, Your Highness. But I must say you are most unwelcome here," he said. A shadow lurked in the darkness, watching him with keen eyes. "You didn't think your rudimentary enchantments could keep me out of your domain?" he asked as he crossed the protective chalk markings on the sand that was meant to ward off uninvited spirits from entering the shrine. And the witch doctor beheld the Spirit King. He stood glorious under the light of the full moon. He was one of the 5 elder Omashi, the firstborn children of the light. But he was corrupted. He had acquired the secrets of harvesting the souls of men. This gave him an insatiable lust for conquering the realm of man, causing the other elder Omashis to banish him to the spirit realm, preventing him from entering the realm of man for all of eternity. But the death of the sacred deer, one of his children in the forest, had broken the seal, and now he roamed free, ready to exact his vengeance on mankind. You interfered with matters above your station, and I am here to rectify that, he said as he walked menacingly towards the witch doctor. The markings on his body came alive, writhing all over him as his form doubled in size. I have no intention to confront you, but if that is what you desire, I will oblige, the witch doctor said. And with that, he whispered an incantation and drew the fire from his calabash. It wrapped around his hands, the energy coursing through his body. The calabash floated in mid-air as the flames became one with his palm. I will give you a taste of my power, the witch doctor said, filled with rage, and with that, he channeled a lethal blast at the Spirit King, the energy coursing through his hands. The Spirit King barely nudged. There seemed to be no impact. The witch doctor intensified his blast, using both hands. The blast was deadly enough to obliterate an army of Omashi. He didn't know what to expect. He had never stood against an elder Omashi before. When the smoke cleared, he saw the Spirit King standing, unfazed. He seemed to have been absorbing the energy of his blast. There was no way he could challenge him. He had attacked him with all his might, and it was nothing before the Spirit King. I know you seem confused, the Spirit King said. Perhaps I should have begun our conversation with the reality of your limits. And he threw a gem onto the floor. It was an orange gem. He would recognize it anywhere. It was the life force of his deity, Yuri, the source of his power. She was one of the 5 elder Omashi. The witch doctor fell to his knees in shock. He couldn't believe his eyes. It was beyond him to think an elder Omashi could be killed. Yuri was not a challenge for me, the Spirit King said. She is no more. It causes me to worry why you felt you could be. I have waited eons to break free of my bonds, and no one can stand in the way of my goal again. My daughter's death was a gift. I have thousands more children, and I will create more once I have conquered this realm. The witch doctor closed his eyes in a dark resolve. He couldn't win this. The realm of man has come to an end. This was his end. He could hear the ground quake as the Spirit King approached him. And in a flash, the witch doctor lay lifeless on the ground. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Continue the adventure with us in the next video. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single bit of our epic adventure.